Hey guys, Ogre Barbarian here, also known as Brett, and with me today
Hey guys, this is Sebastian, also known as Doombox on Reddit.
Also known as Hate Mail, trolling us. Hi guys, this is Daniel, also known as DP0427 on Reddit.
Hey guys, this is Hate Mail.
and we and we are the Oddsmen, along with We Are Legends.
Soon to be everything anyway.
Yeah.
Soon to be WROL Broadcasts.
Well, I guess, that's a good way to segue into what I was going to say right now. What I was going to say is, as you guys know, this is going to be the last episode of the Zod Broadcast, being episode 20. Nice round number to end on. Because if you're not already up to speed, we will be merging with We Are Legends. We're already in the process of moving all of our stuff over there. We're in the process also of changing some pages so that it reflects our new name, which is WROL Broadcasts, which was thanks to you guys in the community that helped us pick this name. So the runner-up to this was the Gorilla Codcast, KHODD, for each of our names. And we probably want to keep that as a name, probably for a segment that we want to do in the future as part of our new show going forward. So look forward to that. Hopefully we'll get that started in December, if all things fall into place.
And also next week is going to be the last two episodes of the... We're going to release 2 episodes next week. It'll be the last 2 episodes of We Are Legends, the regular podcast. And then we'll have a merged once a month show, most likely is what we're kind of leaning towards. That will be a combination of our 2 shows.
I mean, I guess while we're on the topic, I guess we could spitball it a little bit live with everybody here. And for those listening on the podcast, they can hear this too. The idea, I guess, for the new show is that we're going to have a sort of newsy segment style. Whenever something new happens, whenever breaking news happens, new kits are released or the silhouettes of a character are released, we're gonna release a podcast for that week, talk about them real quick. And they're going to be short, sort of, 10, 20 minute segments, something like that, right, Hey?
Yeah, I was thinking 10 to 15 minutes. And then, if I go on one of my psychotic rants like I did with PvP, which you all hear about soon, we can do a news segment on it. And instead of, making a whole show.
Yeah. And then basically the idea of the Gorilla Codcast, what we talked about just a few minutes ago, was that at the end of the month, I guess we'll try and get as many of the 5 of us together as possible at one time and just go over how the month has been for us and just say, what's going on, what we think about the new characters, the rework characters, the meta, etc., and just talk about whatever. And it's also the opportunity for you guys to ask us questions during the month, and then we'll answer them on the show at that time. So that's basically the gist of it. So it's not going to be a lot of going over characters like we did in the Oddsman show or that they did in the We Are Legends show, because we'll be doing that throughout the month already. So it'll be more of just a summary at the end of the month.
Yeah, because a lot of times when the characters first come out, we have our initial thoughts on legendary orders and what we think about them. But a lot of times, I'll use Donna Troy as an example. I really thought she was going to be trash at the beginning, and then now she's a meta level character.
There you go. And that would be a great way to sort of bring that up into something like the Gorilla Codcast. Anyways, I guess while getting into it, let's just wrap things up for our previous old format. For those of you guys who were listening to the Oddsman broadcast from earlier this month, we already went over the rework characters with Bizarro and Doomsday. So this month we're only going to go over the new characters, being Zod and Brainiac. So I guess we'll start off with Zod. And what I'll do first is for each one, I'm going to read their kits. And since Doom is not here and Hate Mail's filling in, he's going to go over what he thinks of each of them. And then we'll discuss them at length afterwards.
Here comes a new challenger!
Zod gonna blast you with his heat vision, and the animation for it is super cool. And then he's gonna freeze you, and he's gonna punch you into a bajillion pieces, and it looks super cool. But the thing is, you always want to take his 4 because it means he can't miss, right, Hey?
Hold on.
Yes, that is the only one that is important.
All right, let me get this. Let's talk about that.
You take it first, not 4th.
All right. So I got his kit up here, so I'm going to read it here. So his Zod's first ability is Heat Vision Strike, and it's special damage to an enemy, legendary. If Zod deals a critical hit, apply 1 heal immunity and deal additional 10% true damage. His next ability is Kneel Before Zod, And points for flavor there. Love that. Gain 3 intelligence up and 2 crit chance up. And 50% chance to gain 75% turn meter up. The legendary for this is extend the duration of these buffs by 1 turn. The third ability is Freeze Breath. Now, the Freeze Breath is heavy special damage to an enemy. Always apply 5 int downs, and the legendary is cooldown -1 for all of Zod's ability if enemy is killed. And then his first passive, his fourth ability, is Warmonger. Zod gains plus 50% critical damage. The legendary for this is Can't Miss on all attacks. And then the fifth ability is his leadership, New Krypton. All allies gain plus 15% critical chance. Legendary is if a teammate deals a critical hit, 70% chance for Zod to gain death immunity, and 10% chance if the teammate is Kryptonian. And that's his game. So, what do you think, Hate?
So far, I mean, he's not a bad character. And if you don't have Red Robin, Terra, or some of the other characters that do what his kid Hired Gun Deadshot, he's a great alternative. But I kind of feel like he's a poor man's version of that team. He's great when he crits initially. Whenever he first attacks, his 3 does so much damage. And if he gets that crit, he can wipe out Harley Quinn MJ right out of the gate, which is awesome. But the problem I have with him, and the reason I don't like using him as much, is that unless you're running Hired Gun Deadshot as a leader, he doesn't always crit. He does most of the time, but he doesn't always crit. And then he doesn't always kill her. And if you're running an Atrocitus team, which I've been running a lot of lately just because I want to be able to win PvP fast and gain 8,000 points that I have to gain, I'd much rather use Terra for the evasions down. Same thing with his leadership. His leadership increases your crit chance, which is nice. But I'd rather just do Hired Gun Deadshot because a lot of times the reason you're running someone with a high crit is because you want to be able to eliminate a character out of the gate, which is typically Wonder Girl. So I do like him. He is a very good character, but I feel like he's kind of he doesn't do quite what you want him to do in all the different facets. He doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table other than high damage.
Well, he's special damage also.
Yeah.
So that makes, I think that can make a difference.
But I'd rather use Starfire in most cases.
So,
I don't see why I would want to bring him over other people in a lot of cases.
This is where I'm going to come in. So I agree with basically everything you say in general, because you bring up all the right points. The only thing is that looking at Terra, Starfire, Zod, and there's a few other characters sort of fill that spot, right? That heavy green damage, special damage dealer that can deal with anti-evasion characters. Now, the thing that you want to note about Zod that makes him stand out is that he can't miss on all of his moves, which includes his nuke, right? His heavy damage third ability, right? Now, if you take a look at Terra, and if you take a look at Starfire, all their damage, all their big damage abilities can miss. Now, their can't miss abilities are the basics, right? Terra's basic and Starfire's basics do roughly the same damage. I'm going to say that Terra does a little bit more, maybe, than Starfire. But the reason why I bring it up is because you can't one-shot Harley Quinn Majester with either of those characters' basics, right? Meaning, Zod is, I think, the only green character that can guaranteed one-shot kill Harley Quinn Majester and not miss, right?
Yeah, and based on, and if you're running, there are some team comps where that is going to be better overall. Right. So that's why I say he's not a bad character. Yeah. What I'm looking at right now personally is that the fastest way for me to gain the zillions of points I need in PvP is to run Atrocitus teams. And that gets rid of the weakness of Terra by having her you always use her basic, which also applies heal immunity, which I know Zod can too, but Terra has a much higher chance.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then I noticed whenever I'm using Terra, she plays the evasion down, so my other teammates don't miss as well.
So I get what you're saying. Now, so if your argument is based on Atrocitus, then yeah, definitely that is definitely the case, because Zod is not going to be doing that much, because he's going to be doing the same thing that basically Starfire is doing. She's trying to hit characters with her basic. He does okay damage, but it's not going to be insane damage, and neither is Zod's basic either. You want him there for his third, and you want him there to be doing his third on Harley Quinn Majester. That's basically the real reason why you bring him most of the time. But that being said, he is a poor man's version of a lot of different characters. I do give you that. But I think that if the meta were to change, he would have a spot in a different way. Like, I think that a lot of people are criticizing the fact that he may look weaker, especially his gear kit may look weaker than other characters too, because he's actually pretty easy to kill by pretty much any mystic, right? So a lot of what people were criticizing about him was his leadership, but his legendary on his leadership makes him survive his squishiness, so to speak. So that's where I'm building Zod. I'm actually planning to take him full gear, legendary 5, gear 11 as well. I'm almost there, but not there completely yet. But I think that his leadership is going to make him annoying. Not probably on the same level as Power Girl annoying, but it's going to give him sustainability at least. So I think
I've messed with that a lot, and I wasn't seeing it personally. It could just be that my RNG, my characters don't crit very often on their own, so that extra 15% really doesn't do much. But
I mean, all in all, I think he's a good character. He may not be like the same levels of broken as the other free characters that we've had in the past, but I think he's still, he has a spot. So
yeah, he's definitely not bad.
Alrighty. Any of you guys have any other thoughts on Zod?
Kneel before Zod!
Fair enough. All right, how about a legendary order hate?
There's a lot of debate on this one. Really, the one that everyone universally agrees on is 4. And if you only took him in legendary 1, you're perfectly fine after that. I personally like his 1 next, because even though it doesn't proc that often, that heal immunity, I find it to be extremely useful with facing 7 out of 10 boards with Atrocitus anymore. But there's a good argument to be had for 2 next, or even 3, because if you're playing a match where you're running a hired gun dead shot or a crit heavy team where you're going to nuke Harley on your first turn, being able to have all your cooldowns go down real quick is high. So I think there's a lot of debate, or if they want to play like you do and use the leader. Personally, I have the leader as last. I know Kage runs 2 first because he thinks the buffs lasting an extra turns pretty important. So I think it's kind of dependent on playstyle. The only one I would say is really important is 4 first. After that, everything else is kind of up to debate on your playstyle.
Fair enough. I mean, me personally, like I was saying, I think 5 is important for him. I don't value it so high that I would take it above a lot of other moves, but I don't think I would put it last personally. The hardest part about his kit for me is because I like his 5, I don't know where exactly to put it. And it's also very hard to say what's the worst out of his, like, to put last, right? Now, I would put 4 first, as you said, personally. So I guess for me, 4, and then I took 1 as his second one, because I like the utility from heal immunity. Basically, any ability that gives me an extra debuff, basically for free, or with tacked on damage, even if it's very conditional, I still think it's fine to have, right? So you probably want it somewhere in his kit, as long as it's not like super, super gated. And then after that, I would take probably the cooldown on his 3rd, and then maybe leader, and then maybe his second ability last. I think that extending his buff durations by 1 is important. The question is it more important than having him gain death immunity, right? So that's sort of like where I'm at.
And that was my original order too, but I decided to move the leader to last after using it for a while.
I might actually change my opinion once I get to that point. Like, I have him at legendary 2 right now. I mean, I have legendary 4 capable. I just have to slowly upgrade him to get to that level. But we'll see, I guess, once I play with him a bit more.
Yeah. I'm actually beginning to question how good his basic is, upgrade-wise, comparatively to the buff duration and the cooldown reduction. Like, I get heal immunity is nice, but it really does seem like it was just kind of thrown on there and not as good as those 2. I don't know.
You know what would be really interesting? What they could have done with Zod is that they could have made him like an anti-evasion leader, kind of like a poor man's Steppenwolf. But it's just him that's just anti-evasion, and they just made him like a poor man's Deadshot. That's what I think with Zod.
That is kind of a common consensus that a lot of people are thinking of. And I get that. It's more like how you want to use him, right? And here's the thing, like, he's another Deadshot, if you can think about it that way. You don't have to think of it as a poor man's Deadshot. He's a second Deadshot. So you can have 2 of them on your team, right?
He does work well on Steppenwolf teams because all the crits between him and, a fun team is using Steppenwolf, Hired Gun Deadshot, and him to just get crit crazy. And then actually Aquamoa isn't horrible.
You know what's coming next month?
An Aquaman rework?
Hopefully it's an Aquaman rework.
Yeah. But I mean, anyways, I think that if you pair him like on a crit-based team, he works fine. And the other thing to remember is that if you compare him directly with Hired Gun Deadshot, he's a green version of him, right? So whereas you're going to bring in Deadshot Hired Gun to take out Wonder Girl, you're going to bring in Zod to take out Reds, like Harley Quinn Manchester, right? So he serves the same purpose, but on a different level, or a different way, right? So while you can use Hired Gun Deadshot to take out Reds too, you can't really use them effectively against greens, whereas Zod can still do pretty good damage against greens. So that's sort of the argument there too. But anyways, I guess with that, let's move on to Brainiac. All right, so go over his kit. So Brainiac. The first ability is Drone Blast. Damage to an enemy, gain 30% shield. Legendary. Gain double shields if Brainiac has no shields. Shrink Ray. Second ability. Light damage and apply 6 strength downs to an enemy. Legendary. Gain crit immunity. The third ability is Might of Kolu. Damage to an enemy plus 100% chance to stun if Brainiac is shielded. Legendary, if Brainiac is shielded, 60% chance to use Might of Kolu on an additional random enemy. And then the fourth ability is his first passive. It says Vanguard Defense, give Enrage immunity and 15% turn meter up to team at start of battle. Legendary, 25% chance to call assist each time Brainiac attacks. And then his leadership is the Telekinetic Barrier. Give damage immunity to the team at the beginning of each ally's turn until the end of that ally's turn. Legendary, start battle with 30% shield on Brainiac and 50% shield on the rest of the team. So, Kate Mail, go at it.
I'm really, really liking Brainiac. He's just a fun character who's got a cool kit, and if Wonder Girl didn't exist at all, I still would use him pretty frequently. To start with the negative on him, the only thing I don't see the meta changing, even with his release, probably fully. He's not the full-on answer to Wonder Girl that Red Hood was to Deathstroke. And the fact that he's paywalled on top of it. Because you can still you can run Wonder Girl teams against Brainiac and still be effective because she still strips the buffs. Yep. But she just doesn't whip your team into oblivion. But on the positive side, Brainiac allows you to run teams that you could not safely run. I actually was able to successfully run Clayface teams. So that part of it, I'm pretty happy about. And his stun is awesome. So I've been starting to mess around with stun comps, and they are definitely significantly more effective than they used to be.
What would you say is a legendary order for him?
This is another one that's got a little bit of debate. I personally went with his 5 first for the obvious reasons of, slowing down the Wonder Girl train. I like his 3 next because that double stun and that move does so much damage that you can, if it hits a physical character twice, they usually die. And then
you really don't need his legendary on his leadership to deal with Wonder Girl. It comes with the base kit.
Yeah, but I like the shield.
Got it.
And I was planning on using him as leader a lot, so I kind of...
The shield enables the rest of his kit, because he needs to be shielded for his 3 to, stun,
right,
and or proc again.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, his first passive is also really good. So he doesn't necessarily need to be a leadership to be good.
Yeah, I think he could be... I mean, if you're not facing a Wonder Girl team, he'll be great outside a leader for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, if you put him on Atrocitus teams, you'll be getting lots of shield. But then again, if Atrocitus' leadership gives you shield, then you might not be getting that much shield. So it's weird.
Well, I plan to run him with Atrocitus teams. I want him to be a little higher legendary. I want him to be legendary 4 before I start messing with that, because I didn't take his basic upgrade, which I do think his basic's probably the last one I would take on his legendary order, just because it's the worst of the best. But
all of his skills are really good upgrades. You cannot go wrong.
Yeah, he's definitely...
There's some that are better than others, but...
He's definitely a legendary 5 character. And I think I took his 2 third because I like that crit immunity, and applying 6 strength down to an enemy is quite useful against Wonder Girl, Power Girl, any of your physical heavy characters. But there's a good argument to be made for taking his passive, because that 25% chance to call assist every time Brainiac attacks is pretty nice. He's not that fast, so it's not like he's attacking all the time, but it's still a decent... If it was 50%, I would move it higher, but I think because it's 25% is the reason I'm taking it more.
But it's any attack.
Yeah.
25% any attack. Doesn't matter what skill. Most characters only have an assist coupled with, one skill, and it has a cooldown a lot of times, or has a gate. Brainiac just has a 25% chance to call an assist. That's absurd. That's absurd.
He's a great character, and I think at Legendary 5, will get slotted into my Atrocitus auto teams. I could see him actually using his basic, calling an assist. I mean, that could be pretty nutty.
The one thing that I want to point out about Brainiac's kit, and I think this sets a precedent. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. He's the first character that has enrage immunity at the start of battle. It's not a leadership ability. Is that right?
Yes.
That is huge. I don't know about you guys, but that's really, really important, I think.
He also is the first character to give turn meter
at the start
before the start of battle.
Yeah. So which makes up for his lack of speed too, right? So like he's okay, but he's not like, blazing fast or anything, right? So
well, here's something for you to contemplate. What if my Castaway Green Arrow is faster than your Reverse Slash?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
There is some bonkers things you can do with this.
You just control you control all the turns all the time.
Well, yeah. That sounds like a really good plan to me. I mean,
just be faster than everybody, and then you just control their turn meter, and yeah, that's it. That's the writing on.
And then you have stuns on top of that.
Yeah.
And you think about his basic. He gains 30% shield, but if you have the legendary upgrade, it's 60% shield. That is a lot of shield.
Only if he's not shielded. But yes, that is huge.
Yeah, but still, that's monstrous.
Because, what is it, Jessica Cruz, doesn't she start with 60% shield?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Like, that's...
More shields?
It's a huge amount, like...
Oh, she's gonna be fast. I can't wait to start messing with that. And that comes with his base kit. He doesn't need to be a leader to give that turn meter, so that's really cool.
All right. Do you guys have any other thoughts on Brainiac before we wrap things up?
I wish he was free.
I wanted to tack on another idea that Hate had, that the meta wasn't going to change. The main difference between Red Hood and Brainiac was that you couldn't run a Deathstroke team viably against Red Hood. And even the people running Deathstroke teams were like, yeah, well, I'm just going to avoid Red Hood and then go about my day. And I guess the meta kind of shifted that way, but didn't do too much. Because you can still run Wonder Girl and not get punished, she'll still be part of the meta. Meta's not going to change. And the other thing is that Brainiac only gives the damage immunity. If they went something creative like, yeah, if you get attacked out of turn, they get hit, and so it'd be a bad idea. So unless someone says, oh, running Wonder Girl is not a good idea on this team, she's still gonna be a meta character. It's not going to change. I think at this point, the only way to change the meta is just to nerf her.
Yeah.
That's all.
So that's a good segue into our next section. So I guess we'll wrap things up there for the new characters talk, and then we'll get into the arena. In the arena, the first subject that we have to talk about really is the meta. Now, the situation that we're currently facing. It's basically, all hail Wonder Girl, right? Now, Wonder Girl meta as it stands, I guess there's a lot of compositions, and to break it down, there's the Batgirl, Wonder Girl, Harley Quinn, Manchester teams is the one. Then you have Atrocitus-based teams with also Wonder Girl in it. And what else am I thinking of? And then the counter to those teams, right? Like you have the Deadshot.
Yeah, the higher gun Deadshot led teams.
Right. So that's basically the situation that we're in. And as Hate Mail was leading on about Brainiac, while he is a good answer to her, unfortunately it looks like he might not be, the be-all, end-all to the Wonder Girl meta. And so I guess Kage was just talking about that too, but do you guys want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Go ahead, Kage, if you want to start.
Yeah, so let's put it this way. When you run Deathstroke and Baby Lobo against Red Hood, you go, oh, maybe bringing Baby Lobo into this fight is a really bad idea because Red Hood's going to turn me down and steal my awareness and stop my Deathstroke from doing anything. He did everything. And so the people playing Deathstroke were like, okay, we can either field different teams or we can just run away. Those are the two options. With Wonder Girl and going up against Brainiac, yeah, your fight's going to take longer because she's not whipping everyone to death, but she's still going to nuke Brainiac eventually. So on defense, Brainiac's not going to do that much for you. I would say that unless the devs implemented something into his kit that said, give damage immunity and retaliate against out-of-turn attackers, you're going to be like, okay, well, it's still a good idea to run Wonder Girl. Unless they can put in something to deter you from fielding Wonder Girl, she's still going to be on your boards. People who have Brainiac, they're going to be mildly entertained by having damage protection, but it's not going to change a lot on the meta, and I think she might need to be nerfed. Sad to say, but that's what the reality is I'm coming around to.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a big, I just don't see what they could implement that would completely stop her kit. I kind of thought this might be it, but honestly, when I was running Brainiac teams, I could use other teams and win a match, but it's a slow grind because it's more of a control-based composition, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we get into the whole point situation, when you need to win fast, when you got to just grind hundreds and hundreds of points at 3 to 6 points per match, the most effective way to do it is to run Atrocitus, Wonder Girl, usually Power Girl, and then you can kind of rotate around who that fourth person is. Sometimes I swap out Power Girl. I have 4 teams. I've been PvPing this entire time we've been talking, just pressing hit and then pressing auto. And I was getting so frustrated with PvP because I just could not climb fast. And then I finally sold out and started using everybody's auto teams. And sure enough, quick and easy. So there's really no incentive to running the other teams. And I've run into some of these Brainiac teams that take a little bit longer, but Power Girl will eventually strip off the taunts. Wonder Girl will eventually strip off the taunts, and then Wonder Girl will punch Brainiac in the face for 148,000 damage, and the match will end. It just takes a little bit longer than it normally does.
So basically, what you guys are saying is that while we do have good quote-unquote silver bullets for the meta, it's not enough to actually make a dent in the meta, is what you're saying, right?
People are always going to use what's the easiest and the most effective way. And even people that want to use other teams, I'll mess around with other teams, but it's Sunday. This PvP is insanity. It's already over what it normally ends at. It's over 3,000 points already. And for those of us that have geared out rosters, and I'm sure many of you have seen my rants that I've been going on lately about how you're punished for gearing up your characters. And even the low-level people don't particularly like it because then they get paired with people they can't beat. So it's just a terrible system all the way around. But if you gear your characters beyond 10.5 or a handful of meta level gear 11 characters, you're going to have mostly boards of 3 to 6 points. So you're going to have to play 300 matches to win, and just who has the time in the day to play that many matches? So you need a fast team that you can run on auto while you do other things. And the best way to do that is to run Atrocitus teams, which is what all the people that have Mega Gear rosters are forced to do to be able to get into the top 100 fast enough. Because you just can't. You just don't have, unless you have all day to play, you just can't do it.
Ogre, do you have any thoughts on what Hate just said about the current state of the meta?
He's pretty much right. I mean, the trophy system in itself is inherently very flawed. And I don't know why they went with the trophy system over a ladder, but at the same time, sure, I get it. But the whole meta, it's not changing. Like, I think the easiest way to phrase it is exactly how Hate phrased it. The fastest, easiest win is what is going to get played. And Wonder Girl literally does everything, and therefore you're going to run her. It doesn't matter if she has a couple of counters. She can literally do whatever the hell she wants, and no one can stop her for the most part. Like, people have literally gone out of their way to try and find, ways to deal with this brat with Red Robin and Hired Gun Deadshot. You're literally using Red Robin to put True Sight on Deadshot so that you can snipe Wonder Girl and not deal with her. Literally, everybody is doing this because they don't want to deal with her anymore. But nobody's not running her at the same time. So it is everyone's fault that this meta exists. But it's not going to change as long as she is this powerful.
And you even hit the nail on the head because you're using two characters to deal with her to compensate because you're using two physical characters. And if you're running up, especially if you're running up against an energy-based team, which a lot of people have two energy characters on, you need one mystic that can handle two characters. And only Wonder Girl is powerful enough to take on an entire team on her own.
Etrigan can, but I mean, usually Etrigan also
yeah.
with her too.
But Etrigan only can if he can get around a taunter. And a lot of times you're trying to get around Power Girl or Harley Quinn Mad Jester, and Wonder Girl can strip those buffs and get you there and take care of the characters.
While we're on this subject of the meta teams, right, and the anti-meta teams, one of the questions or one of the requests from one of our fans from the JLRs, Mr. Scotty Mack, he asked, what if we did a segment in the arena about what teams we're running right now in the current meta? So, as we were saying, like, Hate jumped on the bandwagon of playing the Atrocity-led teams, and then a lot of other people are probably running Batgirl-ish type teams. What about you, Kage? What are you running?
I've been playing on auto, just playing the same Atrocitus team. I have no reason to really run another team, A, and B, it's just faster. Why does it matter?
In my case, for example, I'm on the other side of the coin. I'm the one fighting against the meta, but then I'm doing what Hate Mail was just saying about I have to run two characters to compensate for one, and then I have to build. I'm basically playing like a 3-man team with 4 characters, right? I'm playing the Deadshot Hired Gun Red Robin team with Etrigan and Starfire, or Etrigan and Larfleeze, or maybe Larfleeze and Starfire, some combination of those characters, right? And basically, I'm sick and tired of running this team. I know it's good, it's effective for what it does, but it's boring, and it's basically because I'm doing the same thing over and over again against the same team that I'm coming up against. So, this is sort of where I'm at. I mean, Ogre hasn't played PvP in a while, so I guess this question doesn't apply to him, right? So, I mean, this is sort of the state of the meta.
And yes, just for reference, I am at 900 trophies right now. I do not like PvP right now. It is absolute garbage.
On a non-character that I want week, or if the point system was not so atrocious, I would happily be playing actually right now with Brainiac, because you can run fun teams again and not be completely at a huge disadvantage. But it's still, when you need the characters, and it just how happens that there's like 3 weeks in a row where I actually need the characters, it's painful. So you got to run. In the team I'm running 3 different ones. I run Atrocitus, Power Girl, Wonder Girl, Terra. That's the most common team I use. Or Atrocitus, Power Girl, Wonder Girl, Catwoman. Or I run Atrocitus, Power Girl, Wonder Girl, Katana. Or Donna Troy. I think those are the 4 teams I run together. And I can beat any team with them on auto, which it's boring. Yeah. It's not fun play, but it's effective.
Now, here's a question for you. If we compare this meta, this current situation that we're sort of cycling through the same bunches of teams, would you say this is more or less oppressive than the Deathstroke Lobo meta? Because it's sort of the same idea, the fact that we keep coming across the same types of variations of teams, because there's no real reason to play anything else, right? So what do you guys think? Which one's more oppressive between those two?
They're completely different, I think. Deathstroke Lobo allowed you to beat teams that you should have no business beating. Wonder Girl is literally creating a meta around her, whereas everybody was using Deathstroke as leader. You don't have to have any particular leader with Wonder Girl. That's the biggest difference.
I would say I'm having, I don't know, maybe it's just because I played the game longer, but I'm having less fun now than I ever did during the Deathstroke era, which I know sounds, I mean, at first when Deathstroke came out before Red Hood, it was kind of interesting trying to find challenging ways to beat the strong Deathstroke teams. Then it became really frustrating and annoying because it was Baby Lobo, but once Deathstroke or Red Hood came out, you could just melt through those teams, which I don't know, I guess that was really boring too. I don't know why, I think it's just because this is the second go around, so it feels worse.
What do you think, Kage?
Not much to say, really, on the meta.
I think you actually just reminded me one of the biggest things Deathstroke didn't invalidate any character. It made it harder to use them, but it didn't invalidate anybody. Wonder Girl invalidates a ton of characters.
Well, you weren't running Castaway or Livewire because of their random attacks, because you didn't want to accidentally trigger him.
Yeah, you couldn't AoE.
You would still run Castaway, just for his buff purging, if nothing else.
I didn't run Castaway because he accidentally killed Lobo with his
And then start the whole loop.
extra shots. There was a couple characters, but it wasn't to the extreme.
I think Ogre's
It was a 40% character.
I mean, Ogre's point is basically it's still valid the fact that you wouldn't run characters for the sake of them accidentally killing Lobo, but the presence of those two characters didn't make these characters terrible, right? Like they didn't make them like awfully bad that you couldn't play them at all. Like you could still run Castaway Green Arrow and still get lucky, you know what I mean? But for example, you're not going to run Steppenwolf or Clayface into Wonder Girl without, some sort of Brainiac protection, right? Like that's basically the difference between the invalidation that I guess Ogre's trying to get onto, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, well, I guess we'll wrap things up there for that then. Before we finish that, well, we're talking about the Wraith Arena, right? Now, hey, you made a big rant and a big post on Reddit about the current state of the Wraith Arena point scoring system. Do you want to just go over that real quick?
Yeah, it's funny because I brought this up almost every month, but this month it just seemed to, because the meta's so oppressive and it's so annoying, you can't really, matches take a while. And when you're playing, and we're going to do an entire podcast on this topic just because I'm so passionate about it, but a lot of my fellow owls and a lot of, many other players that have been playing a long time now that aren't necessarily quite as well happy as I am, but you don't have to be really well happy. You just have to be, been playing a long time and have a really advanced roster. That once you hit that wall where you've accidentally done too many legendary 5s, or you decided to take a few characters to 80 because of Siege, you suddenly hit a wall where you get nothing but 3 to 6 with the rare occasional +9. And I know some people get a few more +6 to 9, but you have to play so many more PvP matches, and it goes against everything. I mean, it doesn't make sense from a business perspective. It doesn't make sense from a character advancement perspective. The system is terrible. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. Where you have characters that have gotten smart, and there's a small subsection. I was actually surprised when I made the post how many people agreed. There was very few people that wanted to keep it the way it is. And those handful of people are those people that were smart, game the system, and have just a small handful of Gear 11 characters that are the meta characters so they can beat any team. Or they are the 10.5ers. And it's funny because I got into a discussion with some people on a different message board that were kind of talking about the topic, and they're Gear 9. And they tell me that, and I actually have some screenshots I was going to post in our next episode, that they clear one board and they're fighting characters that are Gear 9 as well. So, they're even matches. It's not like it's too hard. Then they accidentally get to the top 100 by clearing one board, which just blew my mind because they're getting so many points, which is for me to get to the top 100, I have to do my 27 PvP every day. On a busy week like this one, I've probably run almost 200 matches, and I'm still not quite there. And they can clear one board, get to the top 100, and now they can't finish their board. So they're not even happy with that. You would think that they would be like, all right, I'm top 100, but now they have a board full of high-level characters they can't beat, and their goal is to get the board clears, get PvP points to buy characters. They're not as worried about that. So all in all, it just doesn't make sense. The game makes it so people don't want to gear their characters, so they're spending less money. Yes, they're making a little extra money from people having to PvP more, but we only do that on the weeks we need the new character, and the rest of the weeks, most of us just say to hell with it and just land wherever we land. So we're not worried about PvPing because the point system's so punishing to having a geared roster.
Any other thoughts to add to that, guys?
See more on the We Are Legends podcast.
Fair enough. All right. So I guess with that, we'll wrap things up there for the arena talk. Just before we do that, though, last thing to note is that with the gem blitzes that are currently going on, it seems that there's a bug that's still persisting with a lot of the gem blitzes since, I guess, a few months ago. At the last day of the gem blitz, so today, as the time of filming or recording this podcast, it seems that the extra point characters no longer count on the last day of the blitzes for some reason. It's been a recurring thing, if I'm not mistaken. Like you guys noticed that too?
I've seen posts about it. I haven't played this one because it was an all-female blitz, and I knew what that meant. So I just did the minimum to get 100 points and focused on Wraith.
It meant garbage.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not seeing that many Batgirl teams.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't been seeing as much like Batgirl, Harley Quinn, Wonder Girl, Donna Troy teams I thought I would, but
like DOJ is in play. I see Jessica Cruz. Shout out to my girl. I see a hacker, but no, there's a fair amount of variety. Enchantress lead, Jesus.
Alrighty, so Event Horizon. So
hell is only a word. Reality is much, much worse.
In the Event Horizon, we're on to the second General Zod Hero Challenge. This is the first time in a long time that the first one had General Zod all the way through as the main baddie to beat, and the second time now we have Brainiac as the main baddie to beat all the way through. What do you guys think of the event and the story?
I actually really liked the storyline. The storyline was great.
Yeah, I remember. I took a screenshot of the first panel on the first event, and it was just like Power Girl still babysitting John, and so it's a good callback to this year's event earlier with Adventures in Super Sitting. And then they just did a continuation like, hey, Brainiac, join us, because you gotta kill Necron because you want to. That was cool.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good sort of pairing of those characters again. Hey, what do you think?
It was an interesting story. I screenshotted all of them, so I'll have it. I posted. I think I forgot to post it to the CC, but I was going to post all the screenshots for people that can't complete it.
Me, I basically I blazed through it, and then when I got to the last battle, I had to actually think for a second. The first time I did the last battle, I actually wasn't thinking enough, and I lost Cheetah. I thought I was just going to go at Brainiac with... I was going to go at Brainiac with some bleeders and probably just take him down real quick that way. But the minions hit too hard. The minions hit harder than Brainiac. So the first time I went through, I only completed on 2 stars. The second time I went through it, I got 3 stars. I went with Donna Troy instead of Cheetah, I think. But otherwise it was all right. It wasn't too difficult compared to other ones, mainly because Brainiac himself isn't that heavy hitting of a character. But again, the minions, they're scary, man. Alrighty. So I guess with that, then, in terms of Horizon, the only one thing I want to note is the fact that we mentioned this in the other podcast, was that we lost the themed 6-day challenge for this month, and it just turned into a regular 6-day challenge for Lobo. And also that on top of the fact that we haven't gotten any new PvE content this month, and there's no real announcement of anything coming up. I'm not saying the ship is sinking, but it's starting to take on water, if you know what I mean. And with that, you also saw a lot of people posting a lot of quitting threads on Reddit, pretty here and there. So things aren't looking good. So what do you guys think?
I think it definitely needs to have something sooner than later. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't as big of an attrition as I thought there'd be. I mean, I saw a few quitting posts, but we really didn't lose as many people as I honestly expected. I think people are kind of holding out to the end of the year. That might be and honestly, there just really isn't a good replacement game out for mobile. So, but I worry that if a good mobile game comes out, and as many of you know, we're doing a Diablo podcast for a mobile game, and we, I think if that game were to release tomorrow, it would be trouble for me personally, because there's just nothing to do, and PvP is boring. The only thing we have right now is PvP, and we're bored doing that. So they really need to do something soon. I really hope something's on the horizon.
Let's hope so. Christmas is coming up.
Yeah, if we don't get something next month, there's gonna be an exodus. It's gonna happen. Like I'm worried, but it needs to happen now.
And hopefully they can bring it on. If they do something new and innovative, that they could bring it in with, the positivity behind the Aquaman movie, because that looks awesome, right? So,
one thing, if for whatever reason things, got pushed back, timelines changed, whatever, if nothing else, I really, really hope we see a Siege next month, because that would at least distract us if there's more delays.
Also, just come out with a freaking announcement and say, hey, we have cool stuff planned. Unfortunately, stuff happened. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, That's all you need to say.
Alrighty then. So I guess with that, we'll wrap things up there for that part, and then we'll get into the shop talk real quick because there's not really much anything to talk about. So. In the shop talk, there really wasn't any updates, so there wasn't anything to note in terms of bug fixes. And then in terms of packs, really there hasn't been any change to pack patterns or anything at all. So with that being said, at the end of this month, at the end of November, I'll plan to release a shop pattern summary for pretty much everything that I've been keeping track of up until now. I have a spreadsheet of all the stuff that's been happening in the shops since, I think, March of last year. But a lot of the patterns have pretty much solidified I would say, in the last 3 months. So with that, I'll release it, and if the marketing team plans to stick...
That means it changes next month.
Well, that's a good... That's another reason for me to do this. If it actually brings about change, then that's good, because I need... it's really boring having this, being able to predict everything that's happening in the shop because of the way the packs are released, because they're so boring that I don't want to even look and buy or even review them anymore. You guys remember at the beginning when I started out in Reddit, I was posting pretty much every other day about, what if this pack is good or not, and I haven't been doing that maybe in at least half a year. So, well,
that goes to the other stagnation. Without getting new content, we're also not seeing. I mean, even red alerts, characters haven't changed, and it's going on it's over a year now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's funny. Like they know what our complaint is. I don't know what the holdup is.
Red tape.
Yeah, that one doesn't make sense to me, because that one. I mean, I understand new content takes effort and time, but things like red alerts, it's like, come on, that can't take any time.
I'm going to give the developers the benefit of the doubt, knowing that they have a lot of stuff that they want to do, but there's a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy that they have to put up with. So that's at least giving them the benefit of the doubt. But, that's maybe me being too nice.
Yeah, but every other game has the same challenges and concerns, and you gotta put up or shut up at this point.
Wait, you mean we're gonna take the Watchtower out of orbit and drop it right on top of their little science project?
In the community Watchtower, we're going to talk about some questions that Pajami asked us on Reddit, and then I guess we'll go over our merger that's underway now. So Pajami's first question was sort of cosmetic-based. Well, both of his questions are cosmetics-based. So the first one says, what do you guys think are the coolest-looking move animations in the game, and what do you think are the worst-looking animations in the game? So what do you guys think?
I think Zod has some of the coolest animations that I've ever seen. His animations are absolutely what you expect from General Zod.
One of my favorites is what used to be the old passive for Dr. Fate. His animations have always been some of my favorites.
I'm really digging all the villains. So like Enchantress, Zod, Steppenwolf. And then I also like DOJ because I got a soft spot for that.
You have a specific...
I like Catwoman's flip too.
My favorite animation is ironically a character I don't even use. It's Penguin. His Henchy's attack is my favorite animation. Yeah. Henchy's attack is probably is the best one. Like for me,
Penguin's Henchy is super fun.
Yeah, it's cute. And I think the worst animation is probably like most of us can agree on this one is Superboy's basic.
Oh gosh, don't get me started. If that alone makes him the worst character in the game, in my opinion, just because it's so slow and painful. My second most hated animation behind that is Batman Beyond, because he's so slow. It's like, why does he have to attack so slowly? I won't even use him because of it, even though he's a very good character.
Actually, the one that I actually really dislike is Two-Face's AoE. It's so short. It's just like, what? Like, you compare it to Joker Damage Goods basic, and like there's basically the same attack, and the Joker Damage Good one looks so much better, in my opinion, than the Two-Face one, because the Two-Face one uses awkward camera angles and is so short. You're just like, what happened?
I haven't used him yet, so I couldn't tell you, but basing against him, it does look like it's short.
I mean, I guess let's move on to the next question. And so Pajami's next question was, assuming we at some point get the ability to toggle character skins back and forth between non-legendary and legendary looks, what are your favorite non-legendary skins in the game? So for me, the first one is obviously Superman. The second and the third for me, I guess, would be, what's her name? Harley Quinn Mad Jester's non-legendary costume is the original Harley Quinn Mad Jester. I think. So I really like that costume.
Doomsday,
Easy for me.
Bizarro.
Bizarro, yeah.
Catwoman all the way.
Supergirl.
Yeah, Supergirl is much better too.
Yeah.
So many of the female characters look so much better.
I like Supergirl, Enchantress, and Poison Ivy base looks because I don't like the green blue skin for Enchantress and Ivy. Like, it's just weird.
I don't like Ivy's pre-legendary.
I know
She's like one of the only one.
I know Doom's answer. Doom's answer is Riddler.
Yeah, I will run him non-legendary just because I want to annoy people.
Big brawler Riddler.
That's fair. I will wrap up the questions there. For the rest, the only part we really want to talk about in the Community Watchtower was, I guess, the merger that's underway. But I guess since we covered that at the beginning of the show, we can skip that, I guess, then. Is that cool?
Cool.
Yep.
All right.
You guys will see. Tell us if you like it after we do it.
Yep.
Right. So,
We're doing it either way, so.
fair enough. So I guess with that, we'll wrap up the show there. And I guess, Ogre, give us our final last words of the Oddsman broadcast.
This has been a great trip, y'all. Without the community support, I don't know how long we would have been doing this, or if we even would have started doing this, or, whatever. It's been a fun, long road, and I do look forward to continuing to bring you guys good content here in the future as we merge into WROL Broadcasts. We have a lot of good stuff planned for you guys with that, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. It's
I'm getting emotional.
It's been a long road that has been so much fun, and I can't really express that enough. I can't really find the words right now. I wasn't really prepared for that. But we're not leaving, so I guess this isn't really farewell, so I can't really.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah. Bye.
And this is Doombox. Etrigan's terrible, but I'm glad I didn't show up.
And Arcus.
He loves Arcus. Anyways.
Anyways, thanks for listening.
I'm
guys.
secretly Asian because I visited Japan once.
Alrighty. For me, on my side, yeah, I think it's another step for us moving forward. It was a lot of fun doing the Oddsman broadcast the way we did, through all the variations and all the format changes that we did. But this is not the end of us. This is just a step in a different direction and in a better direction. And as we've said before, we're going to bring you more content, better content, and just all in one place rather than two. So for those of you guys who don't know already, we're all basically merging all of our stuff onto the We Are Legends stuff that's already there. So if you guys are already following them and subscribing to them, then nothing really changes for you. But otherwise, for the time being, get onto the We Are Legends Patreon, their YouTube, and their SoundCloud, and all of our stuff will be there as well. And in the very short future, by I guess December, a lot of the Oddsman's current linked stuff will be shut down, and all of our stuff will be accessed probably at the beginning of December through the WROL. So if you're on the We Are Legends pages, the URL and the links will just change automatically to WROL, and hopefully Hate will also update all his Reddit posts so that all that stuff's up to date too. So that's it. I guess while you guys are on the show, you guys want to say goodbye?
Guys, we will be having We Are Legends the following week. We're going to have 2 episodes, and we'll be ending on our 50th episode. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening. And The Oddsman was a fun podcast to listen to, but we'll be listening to our news version of The Oddsman as well going forward.
Oddsman was dope.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Alright, take care, guys. Good night.
For last week's Winner's Circle, we have Danny Best of UJLA for Bizarro Fragments. And this week, we have Miller Time from the Court of Owls for the Brainiac Fragments. And top alliances again were UJLA.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Oddsman Broadcast. Be sure to check out the next episode of We Are Legends coming up next week.